If you're broke and tired of it, I'm gonna hit you with some numbers that'll wake you up and then give you 7 simple steps that I've personally used to change my life financially. No fluff, just what works. So the first stat is understanding the average American has a negative net worth, which means that the average adult is worth less than a newborn. So literally babies are in better financial shape than grown men because I haven't had time to mess it up yet. Statistic number 2 is if you work minimum wage your entire life, you'll still make over $1 million. If you earn the median income in the US, you'll bring in around $3 million total in your lifetime. So the issue isn't earning, it's where the money goes. This is why staying broke isn't just bad luck, it's usually a pattern. And the good news is you can break it. I've done every step I'm about to tell you. Some of it might sound extreme, but I didn't read it in a book. I've lived it. I've been broke. I've lived at my parents. I've been laughed at, but I came out the other side. So take what I say seriously because it works. So look, the first thing you want to do is try going 30 to 60 days without buying anything except rent, basic food, gas, stuff like that. That's it. Now, when I started to do this, I moved home to my parents' house. So I didn't do any DoorDash, no Starbucks, no impulse buys, no girlfriends, no dating, no friends. Like I just lived at my parents' house. I paid them a little bit of rent and that was it because I was so sick and tired of being broke that I was willing to do anything to do it. What it does is it forces you to confront how much money you're wasting. So even at that time, it wasn't like I was blowing tons of cash on stuff, but I lived on my own. I was paying $3,000 of rent a month. Like I had a shitty car and I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm just going in a circle. So instead of continuing to do that, I said, hey, let me move home. Few people will have something to say and then I'll deal with it later. And I just wanted to get out of the hole I was in. So that gave me an extra $2,000 a month I could use towards my business. Now in this video, I'm not really talking about building a business, but it's more about how to use your money. But that is how I did it. Number 2, and it's gonna sound cheesy, is like decide you're done being broke. That's kind of what happened to me. Like I was so sick and tired of looking the part or looking like I was doing okay that I finally did move home to my parents. Most people, in my opinion, they haven't made that choice. Like they just haven't decided yet. They say like they don't want to be broke, but their actions don't match. I've talked to people who say, yeah, like, you know, I want to make more money. I want to build a business, but you know, I spend $10,000 a month on my lifestyle. I'm like what the like your house, your cars, like why are you spending $10,000 a month? What a lot of people do is they raise their living standards as they make more money. And so they're never able to actually get ahead in life because they're constantly just trying to keep making the same amount of money so they can keep living the same living standards. Like it's stupid. It doesn't lead anywhere. You need to decide you're done being broke and then take the actions that support that statement. Like it doesn't matter what other people think. Like when I moved home to my parents, I was like, what is everyone thinking? Like they're not thinking about it. They're busy doing their own stuff. They're busy in their own lives. Nobody's thinking about you. Just do it. Make the decision you don't want to be broke anymore and start taking the actions that support that statement. Now, the third thing is just understanding that over 1/3 of the average paycheck goes straight into debt, which is crazy to me. Like, I just don't understand how people are in so much debt, but like, that's a whole nother story. That's money that you don't get to keep. You don't invest it or use it to buy freedom. So the first thing you want to do is wipe out any consumer debt. And that's going to help you be able to compound your financial engine. Like, it's crazy to me, but some of these credit cards will be 20% interest, 15% interest, 30% interest. Like it's astronomical how much people are paying in fees on these credit cards. Like don't do it. Just get rid of the credit cards, get rid of all consumer debt because a lot of people, they just keep doing that for the rest of their lives. If you can't buy something twice, like don't buy it, right? Like the whole point of credit cards is like it's instant gratification, but like that never works out. If you can't afford something twice, then the rule of thumb is don't buy it. I use credit cards, but I pay them off every 30 days. Why? So I get points. Like, so I make more money, right? I can use the points for money, but I never buy something that I can't afford at least twice. So it makes no sense. Don't do it. Number 4 is you need to save for an emergency fund. So you can expect unexpected things to happen basically. So make sure that you have an emergency fund set aside for bad times. For me, when I was younger and I was broke, one of the things that kept me up is my car kept having issues because it was an old piece of shit. And then a $500 a head or $1,000 a head, I was like, oh, I'm making progress, and then the car would break down. And then all that money would go there. And that's also why I didn't move home, because I just was going in circles. But having an emergency fund for things that go wrong is always going to happen. Now, as you get more wealthy, like having an emergency fund isn't as big a deal, I would say, because you're making so much that it's like, that is your emergency fund. Like you have so much cash of excess. But most people, if you're making 100,000 a year, 50,000 a year, whatever, like you need to have money set aside for these tough moments. If you don't do that, you're going to have a lot of personal risk at stake. And I just personally don't see the point in that. Like have money set aside for hard times. Number 5 is you want to cut the fancy crap. So look, you don't need a nice car. You don't need a runway. You don't need a nice watch. Like I actually just ordered a pretty nice bracelet from Cartier, but like I don't need that either. You just need to live ugly so you can live free later. So for me, right, I moved home to my parents' house. I was saving $2,000 a month because of it. And now I can invest that or use it in a business, whatever. $500 a month invested over 40 years is $1 million on the stock market, right? You just put it in like the S&P 500, which isn't isn't even like that good in my personal opinion. There's a lot of other investments that can hit more than that. To me, moving home did take a hit on my ego, but in the grand scheme, like, I'm so glad I did, because I became a millionaire living at my parents' house, right? Now that goes into other things I did in business and stuff like that, but you just don't need nice stuff. Like, the whole point of freedom is to be able to do whatever you want. And then people give all their freedom away to afford nice shit. Like, it just doesn't matter. I lived in Miami, and there's guys doing that all the time. And just because someone looks like they have a lot of money doesn't mean they do. They might be over leveraged. They might be using every single piece of it. Like, money is a tool to give you freedom. Do not give your freedom away, make more money, or to buy dumb shit. It just is not worth it. Number 6 is then increase your emergency fund. So we already talked about this, but like, continue to increase it. Like, don't just have like $500 or $1,000 or whatever. Like, I probably have hundreds of thousands of dollars set away for like a quote unquote emergency fund, especially when I have a business, or when I'm building a business. I want to have an emergency fund in case we have a bad month or a couple bad months or something like that happens. We lose an employee. Like, I don't want to just have just enough. Like, increasing my emergency fund is definitely a good option. And then number 7 is invest 15% of your pre-tax income. Now, just so you guys know, I invest over 90% of my income. Like, I live on less than 10%. Now, I do make a lot of money. Like, I'll make millions of dollars a year. So like, less than 10% could still be hundreds of thousands of dollars. I get that. But if you don't make that much money and you're making 40 to 50 grand, 60 grand, something like that, invest 15% of what you make. If you do that, right? I have numbers here. If you invest just $2,500 a month, right? You pick up an extra job, or, you know, you're making decent money and you can invest that. 10% over 40 years would be $15.8 million. Like, $2,500 a month, right? And so even if your job doesn't make that much, you could do part-time. You could do Uber, DoorDash. Like, there's a lot of odd jobs out there that will pay you that. I was doing part-time serving. I made $3,000 a month, and this was years ago. I mean, it's probably way more now because tips are better. It's something that's necessary. Like, even if you have a normal job, $2,500 a month, especially on a 2-income household, like, that's very doable. And that's $15.8 million over 40 years. Like, you can live off that. You just can't live off like $1 million over your life. That's tough. Other thing I do with that is I check my accounts every day. So I check my credit card account, my bank account every single day. Sometimes I won't do it as often now because I'm making a lot more, but by checking that, I can see what's being spent, and then I can always turn it off, because sometimes my team, they're swiping credit cards left and right, or sometimes my credit cards will be used with fraud, and so I can catch that, so I'm not blowing, you know, $200 here, $200 here, $300 here, and it adds up over time. And then the third one I would say is, if you own a house, like I'm personally not a fan of, I don't think you should ever own a house. Like, I don't see any point of it. People say it's an investment, or if they have a family, I get it, but you can make money in other investments. Like, there's way better investments than having a house. So if you do have one though, pay off your mortgage. I actually did that for my parents. I paid off their mortgage. It's a big weight off their shoulders, because then maintaining and owning the house is a lot cheaper. So if you follow these steps exactly and you stay consistent, you won't be broke. It's not about luck. It's genuinely about decisions. Like, you don't even have to make more money. It's just about better decision making. Now, if you want to learn the 7 high income skills that I learned that helped me make over $115 million, you can watch that right here.